Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast, and I'm excited to be here. I'm finally figuring out this video podcasting. I know I talk about it every time, but the learning curve is real and finding not only a method that I like, but a way to do it and the best way to get not only the video to work out, but the audio to work out. Because last time I don't think the audio sounded as good. And that's mainly where this podcast is going. And I learned something new, that this microphone, if you've seen it before, it had this thing on it that was really big that makes it so you don't hear little clippy sounds or that kind of thing. I learned that this microphone already has that built in. Hopefully that's true, because I took that thing off. It was so big. It was just right in the way. So anyway, thanks for being here today. I am just so excited. I thought that doing video podcasting, well, it has taken a lot of time, but I thought it would be really scary, and it's actually kind of fun. So I'm excited to be here and not only have audio available for you, but have this on YouTube with video. Yay. So the topic for today actually applies to this, because I was feeling this big time last week. I was just looking at my mouth. It seemed like it was off sync, but it's actually fine. I need to stop thinking about it. But anyway, there were a few days as I was trying to figure this out that I just thought, I can't do this. What am I doing? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And it wasn't just being overwhelmed. It was just really being afraid. Like, you can't do this. You can't do video podcasting. Why are you even doing a podcast? Why do you have these goals? What are you thinking? Does that ever happen to you, where you have an idea? You might even start working toward that idea, and then you get really afraid. And my usual response in my head is, "What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Why? Just stop! Don't do this." I used to do this a lot with traveling. I've mentioned it before, that when I travel, I love planning trips. I love going to see people that I miss more than even going to exciting places. And even right before, I think, what were you thinking? Life is just simple. Keep it simple. And I decided to look into this idea of tasks, adventures, events, anything that we come up with, why it goes from feeling exciting to feeling scary. And I don't know if you ever see, but I do like Lululemon yoga products, a lot of them they're not yoga products, they're clothes. But when I first started buying their clothes, this is in probably the late 90s. I just bought them off of eBay, and I'd read that they make your seat area. I don't like to talk about the body that much. They make you better than anything else. That was the claim back then. And so I thought, oh, okay, whatever. It's just, I was just wearing them at home. I still had kids at home. And I bought them, and bought some pants, and then I bought more. And for a long time, it was just what I could find on eBay. Since then, I've been in stores and all that. And I've already forgotten why I was telling you about this. I'm wearing this. Oh my gosh, I can't go back and see. Oh, they have a bag. Let me see if I can find it, because that's one of the fun things about this video is, see, it's a Lululemon. So, you get a shopping bag. Do something that scares you. And they have what they call their mantra bags. It's not their belt bags. Those have become popular since then. See if I can find one. Why isn't it showing you? Okay. Yeah. So they have bags that when you go to the store and buy something, they'll give you one. I'll just pull this in. Let's see if I even know how to do this. Show scenes window. I don't know how to do it. You can just Google it. But anyway, they have these bags. There's a way for me to bring in another screen, but I'm just afraid to try and I'll mess up. But on the bag, one of the messages that they have things like friends are more important than money, breathe deeply. They have things that are kind of yoga-ish sayings, even before people were doing yoga that much. And one that always stood out to me was do one thing a day that scares you. And I don't know if I do something every day that scares me, but I think of that whenever I want to do something and then I get really scared, because I think if they put that on a bag, then that means it must be good for you to do things that scare you. And we need to learn the difference, obviously, between what's scary because it's actually dangerous or what's scary because we're just overwhelmed with the idea. We've become frightened for some reason. We are second guessing ourselves. We feel insecure. There are a lot of reasons that this could be happening. And I want to go into that a bit. It can apply to a lot of people, but it can especially apply to women with ADHD. Women often, just in society, aren't always seen as able to do what men can do. That's no secret, even though there have been there's been a lot of progress for sure. So we might second guess ourselves just because of that dynamic, should I even be doing this? Maybe I'm just better not standing out or whatever it is. But fear is a response that we have in our bodies when something just doesn't feel secure. And one thing I love about teaching yoga is every parallel that I have in a yoga class I can use in my life. And as I'm teaching people or as I'm doing yoga, or even now I just do it with workouts, I do it with everything. I learn to tune into my body to see if this teacher's asking me to go into this pose and it hurts my knee, I get a signal like I shouldn't be doing this. And if it hurts my knee, I can distinguish, oh, that's pain. That's a problem. Don't go any farther. I can see that's a dangerous situation. And that's why I'm telling myself not to do this. It may be something else, and the teacher might be showing us a pose. And I think, I can't do that. I might fall on my back if I do that. I tried doing a handstand in the middle of the room. I haven't done that since I was a teenager. I've done cartwheels. I haven't done a drop back bend, which they call wheel pose in yoga, since I was a teenager. I want to be able to do both of those, and I work on them, but not enough that I've been able to do them. And I do have the ability in my body to do it. It's not something that I think, oh, I can't do that anymore because I'm too old or my bones have changed since I'm an adult. I know I can do it. I've had my friend help me. She used to do gymnastics, and we used to go into this room at the gym that had a mat for jiu-jitsu, and we would spot each other in gymnastics. She could do a lot more than I could, but she would spot me in a back bend and a walkover. So I know that my body can do it. I'm just not strong enough in the core. But back to doing something that scares you, sometimes there are real reasons for not doing something in a yoga class because it's actually dangerous. It's actually not safe. Other times it's just a fear, or it's discomfort. And discomfort is something that can interfere with us doing something where I'm not comfortable with that. That's new, that. And then it becomes scary, and then it turns into a fear. And when that happens, sometimes we might think, oh, then I shouldn't do it. That's a signal. That's a signal if I have fear that I shouldn't do it. So I need to take that as a sign. I need to just not do it. And it's way easier not to do it. If something scares you, it's way easier not to do it. Unless you are somebody who thinks, I'll regret it if I don't. I'm not really somebody who thinks that. Like if I'm afraid of something like zip lining, I was with a bunch of women and teenage girls, and they were zip lining. And I could see that when they'd come to the end of it, and it wasn't huge. It wasn't like they were in Costa Rica or something. It was just in the redwoods in California. And I could see at the end, there was really, when they stopped there, it was very jerky. And I thought, I don't want that in my shoulders. When you get to a certain age, you think, I don't want an injury. I don't want an injury. I am afraid of heights, but I wasn't really afraid of heights with that. I could see you were secure and stuff. But I didn't want to do it, not because of fear, but just because of rational thought. But the assumption by everyone was if somebody didn't want to do it, because there were a lot of teenage girls too who were saying, oh, I don't want to do that. Other ones going, I'll be first. And what they would say to all of us that didn't want to do it was, you're going to regret this later. You'll love doing it so much. You'll be so happy you did it. You're going to regret it. You're going to regret it. And I thought, don't pressure me, because I will not regret not getting an injury. It's like I can't be pressured with some things. I don't care if I miss out on a high adventure, if I think it might injure my body, or if I am really afraid of heights. I'm not going to jump out of an airplane or anything. But there is the ability to really stop and notice what's going on when you're fearing something. And if it is something that you really should just go ahead and do, and just get over that hump, whether it's a little hump or a big hump, and just do it. Just do it. One thing that's helped me is to see, and maybe you can see this in your life, if you've ever had any doubts about doing something and you recognize that it's fear coming up, you're just afraid of it for whatever reason. Like, why would I get anxiety about going on a trip? Am I afraid to leave things at home? I don't know. I still haven't figured that out. I love being home, but I love to go places too, but I always second guess it. But when you can see there is no rational reason, there's no logic to this. If you can take that second thought, we have our first thoughts and then your second thought. My husband used to tell my son, think twice. And I was going to say he's our first child that we have with ADHD. That's not true. He's the first one that disrupted our lives with their ADHD, where we just thought, why is there so much of a challenge here? I mean, I shouldn't say that. We don't want to feel like burdens because we have ADHD. We burden our parents. No, but it's just harder sometimes with a very active boy. And yeah, so anyway, my husband would tell him, think twice, because he was so impulsive that he would think, I'm going to do this. And then pretty soon someone's crying because he threw a toy or something. So my husband teaching him to think twice, and we can do that too. Think twice. Like, this is my first response. If I look at my thoughts, if I weigh it out, I started working on this. I started doing it. I can keep going. And you can do that. One of my first times that I remember that I did this, because I don't remember ever really being afraid of anything in high school or college. I don't know. Actually, maybe I was afraid of a lot of things in college, and I did miss opportunities. There were things that I thought of doing that I thought, oh, you're not good enough for. So yeah. But maybe when I was old enough to look and recognize what was going on. When I was first a yoga teacher, I wasn't certified for years. There were very few certification programs, and there were none in our whole county. We lived way, 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 way northern California, way up in the redwoods, up Highway 101 up along the coast. If you know Northern California, we lived up there, and they call it behind the redwood curtain because it's so isolated. I always thought of it as being on an island, and everyone loved each other so much in every little town because we were all so stranded on this island. In the winter, every road would wash out and have mudslides, but it was beautiful green all the time, a lot like Florida in that way, but colder and foggier. But I decided that I loved yoga, and I decided I wanted to share it with people. And I started teaching it in the schools for women's group, at camps, summer camps, and I can do that. I grew up with a lot of confidence. I never thought I couldn't do it. I just thought, I like this, I can share it. And actually in my yoga teacher training, that's one of the principles that we learned is share what you know. Don't try to teach something that you don't know how to do. And so to a degree, I was already knowledgeable enough to be teaching what I was teaching, but I didn't know very much about anatomy. I didn't know a lot of things. And I was just going off of all the yoga videos that I'd done for years, copying that vinyasa flow style. And, so in that time frame, I decided that I would apply. I was eating raw foods at the time because my health was so bad up there. I had allergies, extreme allergies and asthma 9 months out of the year, even though it was beautiful. But, it's one of the perks and, the what do you call it? The curses of having everything in bloom. So I was super allergic to life up there. And I started eating raw foods where I basically just ate things that were fresh foods. But then you think, well, then how do you eat bread? I mean, that was kind of before the low carb thing. And I would sprout wheat because then it becomes a plant. It's no longer a seed. I would sprout wheat and then make crackers out of it. It was actually really good. And it had to have been a hyper-focused thing because I didn't know how to, now I think about it. Could I spend time dehydrating food every night, after the kids went to bed? Like, do I have that kind of energy? I was younger then, but I just had a great drive to do it. Like we do sometimes with ADHD. We just, I'm going to do this. I want to learn how to do it. I'll buy all the raw food books I can. I'll join raw food groups online. So I was part of this holistic group online and found out that they were having a conference. And it was in the same area where my oldest daughter was going to college. And I thought I could go visit her and I could teach yoga at that holistic conference. That would be so fun. So I looked and they didn't have any yoga teachers. It was more of a place where they had workshops where people would sign up and they go from class to class to class, I think for 2 days. Or was it just one day? I think it was just one day. It was a Saturday. And you could sign up and you could learn how to make homeopathic things or there was one woman there who taught about green smoothies, which I was already making green smoothies. And just very, very natural people there and doing all kinds of things that I didn't really know much about. But I felt like I'm going to be right at home. I'll know what to do. And they didn't have any yoga teachers. They didn't have any yoga classes. So I presented it more like a workshop. I looked online. I figured out how to apply to be a presenter. I said I could teach half of that hour on the importance of yoga and blah, 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 blah. It was more informational and have a handout. Meanwhile, I'm not even certified yet. I hadn't even read a single yoga book before. And now I have a whole shelf full of yoga books, which I actually haven't read all of them either, but I've looked at them. They're more resources to me. But anyway, yeah. So I thought I could go and share yoga with these people. This would be really fun. And the second half would be a half-hour yoga practice. And so I did. I went and I taught the class. And I became friends, I think the second year. So I did it twice. And the second year, we had moved to an area where they had yoga teacher training. And I actually was in the middle of certification, but I wasn't certified yet. So I started making friends with women in that area who were yoga teachers or who might be there for that conference. And 2 of them came and they were very experienced yoga teachers. Meanwhile, I don't even have my certification. So they attended the class. And back to doing what scares you. But it's just funny because I was scared, but I should have been. I don't know. I wasn't super qualified, but I remember applying, getting accepted, making the whole handout, having my whole class prepared. And when I taught it, it was easy peasy. It was really fun. I loved doing it. I didn't know a single soul there the first year. And the night before, they had a night where all the presenters come and you have dinner together. I didn't know anybody. A lot of them knew each other. And so I found my comfort zone there. But right before I left on that trip, it wasn't just the trip thing. I thought, what on earth are you doing? You are going and acting like you're an expert in this. And I thought, well, I'm just sharing something that I love and they don't have anybody else who's doing it. And when I went around, you know how they have those rooms, at events and stuff, an expo or something where you can go to a table and learn about essential oils and sign up on someone's email list or buy a sample or something. They had a lot of booths that people were selling things or advertising their books that they'd written. And I was walking around and there were a few yoga teachers or one that was selling straps for yoga mats that she'd made with her sewing machine. And I said, oh, I'm teaching yoga here. This is really fun. And they said, oh, we didn't know that they allowed teaching yoga like that. We thought it was, and I thought, oh, they weren't asking for it. I just asked, myself. So I had this great confidence at so many stages of that. But there was a time, I think it was right after they accepted me and then I started getting the information that I super questioned myself. And I thought, you can't do this. Write to him and tell him you can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. And I thought, just do it. Just do it. I made myself do it. And it led to so many great experiences. And the second time that I did it, when those two yoga teachers came who were, they had 500-hour certifications. I still didn't have my 200-hour certification. And one of them said, when did you get certified? Like, what year were you certified? And I said, I don't have my certification yet. I'll have it in July. And she kind of looked at me. They both kind of looked at me. It was kind of funny. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, there was a reason for that fear. At the same time, the people in charge had agreed to have me teach. They had faith in me. I had faith in myself. I knew I could do it, and I did do it. It was fine. I presented them, I sent them the outline and everything. I put some research into it and made it fun. But I look back at a few times of my life that the fear is almost crippling. It's just, I haven't ever been diagnosed with anxiety, and I don't think I get it very, very often. But my heart racing, my doubting myself, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. Just give up on this idea. It's a dumb idea. Don't do it. And that's what I was thinking last week when I was trying to learn the podcasting with the video. I thought, no, this is ridiculous. Why have YouTube videos? And then now I'm starting to think, maybe I'll do some YouTube lives. Maybe I'll make some shorter ones. I'm thinking, I'll probably get a point. But I had to push past that. And it's not like, anything great, super wonderful is coming out of it right now. But I think it will. And I'm having fun along the way. And hopefully you are too. But I want to go into some of the reasons why the ADHD brain can get this sensitivity, can feel a threat to the point of fearing something when it's not real. And it's not to the point of OCD, that kind of thing. It's not that kind of fear, but I don't know, it can cross over, I guess. But so here's what scientists say. ADHD brains have a hyperresponsive, so it means it responds very readily, very actively, amygdala. It's the part of the brain that processes emotions, especially fear. So that part of your brain might already be active. And when that part of your brain isn't even really paying attention to the reality that you might do something, and you have the idea of doing it in the idea phase, it's not scary. It's not scary because it's just a dream at that point. And you might even take a few steps toward it, and it's still in that dream phase. But then once you process, this is becoming a reality, it might turn into fear. And it can make things feel more intense or more overwhelming than maybe what they really are. And your brain also could have a weakened prefrontal cortex regulation. And that means the part of your brain that is really good at being logical and planning things out, having control of your impulses, that can be underactive. That can be lower or not as active as the neurotypical brain. So then that can make it harder to calm down once that fear response begins. And it could make it harder to rationally sense what real danger is and perceived danger is. But if you can do some things like the yoga kind of thing of backing up and looking at your thoughts like it's someone else's conversation, you're observing your friend, you're observing your child, you're observing someone else spiraling into this, and you knew you didn't feel like this before, and now you are. Is this is this a sensible response? Maybe it is a little scary, but there is something exciting about doing something scary. If you push past that, if you can see it's not dangerous, you'll be okay, you'll be okay, you'll be okay. Just jump in the water, you'll be okay. Once you jump in, then you have that exhilaration of doing something. You're 10 times as excited. So that could be the fun part about this, as you might have been if you hadn't had that fear. Have you ever done that where you're just like afraid to do something? And it could just be something like jumping off a high dive, because that's became my fear when I was older. And it can be really, really scary. And your body and your brain isn't responding in a rational way. I mentioned this in an episode before when I started realizing that I couldn't jump off a high dive anymore because I went to show my kids that I could. I had to climb back down the ladder when there's a line of kids. I tried it a few more times. I had to climb back down the ladder. And I went off the low dive, which was right next to it. And I could see that the railing and the size of the board and when they went over the cement and when they went over the pool was exactly the same. The only difference was how high the second board was. And it wasn't an extremely high dive. It was just a high dive. I mean, just a traditional high dive, not a plank or anything. Because once I got up there, I thought, once I let go of this railing, I'm going to fall onto the cement and die. I was 100% convinced. And my legs were buckling and everything was going crazy in my body. It wasn't true. Once I went on the low dive, I could even walk out to the edge. I could stand there forever, walk as slowly as I wanted. I could see rationally I wasn't correct. And I went back to the high dive. I still couldn't get myself to do it. So there's no success story here. But a few years later, I went to a place that had more of a rock dive place, where you're like up on they have a rock climbing wall for the kids to climb the rocks and fall into the pool. And then you could climb up some stairs and jump off of that rock platform, which wasn't any higher than a regular high dive. And I told myself, you need to be able to do that because there's no walking the plank. You're just jumping. It still was really hard, but I made myself do it. And it's so exciting. It's so exciting. It really is. So, yeah. So whatever just feels daunting. And it may not happen very often. It's not like we shoot for the sky all the time. But if you do shoot for the sky, or if you decide to do something, even get your hair cut in a new way or dye it a new color or something. My hair's going to be in a ponytail most of the time. I wore it down on the first podcast video, which was dumb because I hadn't even fixed it or anything. It didn't look very good. But I'm not daring with my hair at all. I am going to get highlights in a couple weeks, though. I think I've done that once in my life, that I'm getting gray, and maybe that'll blend it in. I'm saying I'm getting gray. I've had gray coming in for a long time, but it's coming in more, not faster, but in the back, and I'm starting to see it in my parts. So I need something. I need some help. Life, huh? Okay, let's go back to ADHD. So there can also be a history where maybe you fear failure because you either were told you couldn't do something, or you just didn't believe you could because you weren't able to do it like other people. Many, many, many women who have ADHD were very successful in school and got really good grades. And so maybe you didn't have an area of your life, like academically, that you couldn't achieve things, and someone else could. Or you might wonder, how come it takes me so long to do this test that involves comprehension and other people can do it quickly? I got really, really good grades and really high scores on the ACT, except for the 2 sections where you had to read something and then answer the 4 questions about it. I don't know if the test is the same at all anymore, but yeah, at the end of each section, and I only took the test once, I should have taken it more, but at the end of each section, I had probably 6 problems that I hadn't even read because I had to read them slowly enough to be able to comprehend them, to be able to answer the questions. And I had to guess on those. I don't know if I got any of those right, but I scored so high on the other 2 subjects that I still had a good enough score to get a scholarship and stuff. But I did wonder, why can my best friend read books like she's just, like I eat popcorn, just gobbling them up. And when I try to read that fast, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. And that's, progressed to now. It's hard to read even a few pages and remember what's going on. So, yeah. So if you have something that made you wonder, I can't be good at this. I feel like that was sports. I did. I played softball. I don't know if you played sports. I know girls' sports are so much more common than they were when I was growing up. And there were girls' teams, but nothing like now where, every little girl's playing soccer or, they have all these teams and stuff. But I did play softball. But when I got into high school, I wanted to be a cheerleader. I thought that was so fun. And I was cheerleading. And my best friend was on the track team. She was a sprinter, high jumper, everything. She also played volleyball. And I thought, I love playing volleyball, like playing volleyball in PE or with friends at the beach or whatever. I love playing volleyball. I could do coordination for dancing with cheerleading and stuff, but my coordination for going to spike a ball, the coach laughed at me all the time because I tried to jump and it felt like so many steps of what she was telling me to do. And then I also felt like that with board games, and especially as an adult, because when you're a kid, you just play the same board game over and over and over. You play Sorry, you play whatever you're playing. Crazy Eights, and you know the rules and you play it. And when you're older, you go to someone's house and they say, oh, we got this new game. It's really great. And you have no idea what's going on most of the time. And you keep going, and then you keep going, oh, and you keep asking questions. And yeah, so if you can see a difference between yourself and other people, and then you start to question your ability to do something, then that could impact that fear of actually getting out there and trying something new. And, it just feels too risky to fail again, Or if you have the perfection thing, I have to do this perfectly. I don't want people to know. For whatever reason, I didn't think that when I taught that yoga class and that holistic conference. I just didn't even think about it because I had been teaching for so long and people liked my classes. So I just didn't even think about it. But we also have, in our brains, we have protective mechanisms. There's a reason that we feel fear. We need to feel fear. It's important to feel fear. Things happen in our lives that can be dangerous or, dangerous like scary people, dangerous. And then also just, like don't get too close to the cliff or that kind of thing. Because we know that we don't want to get hurt. We know we don't want to have someone harm us, and we don't want to harm ourselves either. And so our brain is prioritizing safety and having life be predictable. We don't have to be on guard. We don't have to worry, if we walk a path that we haven't walked before, it's going to be a little scarier. If we walk somewhere I've been on the street before, I know where this is, I know where that is, it'll feel safer. And our brain loves that. Our brain can relax. And it's kind of nice when our brain relaxes. When we have a heightened state of being alert, that can drive some of that fear. And so avoiding uncertainty might be a pattern just because it's better. It's nicer for our brains. It really is. And then also with our brains producing less dopamine, if that's part of you with ADHD, it for sure is me. We not only lack with lower dopamine, we not only lack the ability to have that excitement and that motivation, but we also can't always feel that way. We can't always see the reward of it. We might at one point, like in the dream phase, but in the actuality phase, kind of like, why am I doing this? This is hard. This is hard. I didn't know what I was signing up for when I took on this goal. So, we might want to protect ourselves from doing things that are hard. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. And then you can also have that overactive brain that, thinks of possibilities and that can be like an OCD thing or an OCPD. The obsessive compulsive personality disorder is the disorder. The OCD is not a disorder. Okay, I have to look this up. The meaning, because it is a disorder. It's just not a personality or a disorder. I was thinking about that. I thought, okay, the D is for disorder. This is how well I remember things. Obsessive compulsive disorder, uncontrollable recurring thoughts, obsessions, that it goes with those compulsive behaviors. The OCPD is a personality disorder, and it involves causing other people to change what they do according to what needs to be done, and a lot of times out of fear. So yeah, that's where my obsessive thoughts come up in the possibilities for other people getting hurt too. Yeah. And that doesn't get in the way as much of my own goals, but it does get in the way of me being able to enjoy where I am. But yeah, maybe we should talk about OCPD again. so we can enjoy life when we're worried about all the possible outcomes. But right now I'm just talking about following a desire of your heart, a goal, and not letting that fear cause you to give up on that, to just say, I'm not doing that. That's too much. What was I thinking? Because sometimes we do dream big, and sometimes we do have really lofty ideas, but it can lead to some really exciting experiences. And I like to look at not only the experience that I have by pushing past that fear, and not only the opportunities that I have, but the people I got to get to know, because I did it. Because that's my favorite thing, is the people. But yeah, so if you know that when something once sounded good and you start fearing it, you start panicking, or maybe it didn't even sound good at the beginning, just somebody else suggests something and it's actually a rational thing and it actually could be really great, but you're just thinking, I can't do this, this is too scary. And someone's saying, come on, and they're holding your hand and they're saying, come on, just go here with me, just do it, it'll be fun. Recognize what's happening and just look at the fear and say, is this rational? And don't just have them tell you that's not rational, because that's not always helpful to have somebody else tell you that. But if you can look at it in your own mind and just think, what's actually scary about this? Sometimes the answer is nothing. Sometimes it's really big, and just identify that and see if it's rational or not, and see if it's just wanting to avoid it. Sometimes we just want to avoid, I need to do this, but it's just too much. It's just too much. I can't do that. And it turns into more of a fear or something. I can't go to the store today. It's going to be this, you put up all these things in your mind and you don't do it. So yeah. I guess it's just separate the idea, recognize it, see it for what it is, and then make that decision. Recognize, is this discomfort? Is this actual danger? Is this needing to just be where my brain can relax and not be overwhelmed by this? Maybe you do push it back a little bit, but maybe not. Maybe you say, no, just stand up and do this. And try to visualize what good could come out of it. If there is some good coming out of it, you can see that, you probably can take another step toward it. And just do it. So anyway, yeah. Inviting other people to be a part of it. I've talked about accountability, probably last episode. Talking to other people, telling them what you're doing can help, because then you could talk to them and say, I don't know, what was I thinking? And they could say, no, you were super excited. They can remind you of the good things, and that can be really helpful. It can be real helpful. But I think that is probably it for today. I don't even know with this new recording, I don't know how many minutes I've been recording. 38 minutes and 53 seconds. Pretty good. On the audio, I could just see it the whole time, but here the little timer is not always there. But I think that is it for today. Do something that scares you if it's not dangerous. I don't want you to just do something that scares you every day, just to have that goal. You want it to be something that's worthwhile, that may not always feel good to you the whole time, but it is good. It is good. So I think that is it. We'll see if I can switch to this last screen, last episode. I didn't know how to, sorry if I bumped that. I didn't know what to do to get to the last song. I didn't know how to do this camera thing very well. And so I didn't know how to push to another screen or anything on video. So I just had to sit here and just kind of listen to the music. And usually when it's on audio and there's no camera, I'm actually kind of dancing the whole time. But when there's a screen, it looks dumb when you're dancing because you're not really relaxed enough to dance like you would dance. So then it looks awkward. So I tried to just be as still as I could. And I wasn't that still. I'm trying not to make weird faces. But I think I know how change it now. But until then, thanks for being here. I'll be back again. And what else? Go to my website, reach out to me, email me, be a part of my accountability group. We have one this month for fitness. And some people are in a WhatsApp group that just started this week to report your fitness goals each week and either post a picture of yourself when you completed your workout or your water bottle or your shoes or whatever, just kind of as proof or something to share and a way to connect. And each month I'll do something. I don't know if I'll always come up with a different one, but I do have some ideas for different accountability groups. Not everybody needs that for exercise, but some really, really do. I need one for not being late because I haven't been as good at that lately. So anyway, thanks so much for being here. I will see you again. Bye.